G'day guys, it's Jay here from Journey by Whitefeather, kangaroos, koalas, and everything else in Australia. We know that. If you want a bit of a Steve Irwin impersonation, you get the snakes and all those kind of things. Got my friend all the way. Now, I love this town, Canada. I went there. It was great. The Stampede is awesome. But this lady here, Mamuzo, I'll get it right, from Canada, from Ontario, a joy advocate, and it's an interesting conversation we're going to have today because she's actually looking at people who are migrating into new cultures, but also putting the positivity onto it, because how hard is it for someone to go from one culture, especially somewhere that's, say, a less developed country to a new, but look at the language. I know I went to Japan and I struggled, but welcome to the show. It's been finally, we've got to catch up. I saw your stuff on TikTok and I had to talk to you. Tell us a bit about yourself. Off you go. We got this before we're doing the pre-show, and I could have pressed record because some of the stuff was awesome. Let's repeat that. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jay. I'm so glad to be here today. And yes, I am a joy advocate, and I hope that you get a bit of.
I've seen some of your stuff. It's awesome.
Today.
That's why I grabbed you.
Yes, for sure. So how's the weather over there in Australia?
Yeah, it's Melbourne. It's rubbish.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, it's rubbish. Melbourne's rubbish. Anyway, we won't go into that. We deal with it every time. I have to get out of here. Canada's lovely, though, except for Calgary, which in winter, which is 80 degrees below. I don't think I can handle that. So tell us about your story. Tell us about, you went off and before the pre-show, you were talking and we hadn't pressed record. It was fantastic. You're just flowing. You're going on. Tell us what your goal is with what you're doing, because you've seen your stuff on TikTok, and this is why I gravitate to people like yourself, because you've got such a great message and vibration. People need to hear it. So the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me, Jay, and thank you so much for reaching out. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So I do, on TikTok, I do a show called Accelerate Daily, and that's one of my passions. I realized that moving over to Canada, was quite challenging for me.
How long was that ago? Can I ask you how long ago was that?
There was less than 3 years ago. So that was
3 years. Okay, that makes a big difference. Keep going. That's exactly what we need to hear.
Yeah, less than 3 years ago. So, well, people say I'm not new, and that's correct. I'm not new anymore. At least I've crossed over 2 years, so that's fine. And then, I was alone. I moved without my family, so I was here alone for about a year and a few months. It was quite drooling to be here studying away from family. And then I had to learn a new culture. And so the whole intricacies of navigating from my country over here and then trying to settle in here, learning, how to be fully integrated into the society was quite a challenge for me. And one piece I really found, the biggest toll, that had on me was my courage, my focus, it sort of drained my emotions to the point that I started doubting myself and my capabilities. And, it's not that you were not a pro where you were, but when you come into a new environment, you're always sort of, in your mind, you're always trying to answer the question of, am I enough? Have I done the right thing? Am I here? Am I truly here for a purpose? Because you begin to want to compare who you were, where you were, what you had attained, and then you're building a new life from scratch in your new in the new country. So it's a lot of mental work to reassure yourself that you still have the courage. If you have the courage to move from one country to another country, you do have enough courage to continue to plunge deeper and even find new ways and new grounds to maximize your potential while you're trying to settle. So in the course of doing this, I also compare events. I was privy to a conversation with a women group where they were sharing, deep thoughts and concerns about job hunting, raising children here, and all the baggage that comes with, migration. And I realized that just like me, they too were dealing with confidence issues. They were saying, we were bosses where we were, but coming over here now, we're trying to build from scratch. We're made to go to the bottom line to start. It's not that easy. And so some of them were also struggling with confidence issues. And I said, you know what? what needs to help us go through this phase is for us to constantly remind ourselves that we have capabilities that are in depth, deeply rooted inside of us, that if we can just reach out to those, to our core essence, we will find the courage to start again and even stronger than we were where we're coming from. And so I started off Accelerate Daily, a daily affirmation show that encourages people to say to themselves empowering words to give them the boosts and mojo to face each day and enjoy the value of each day.
Fantastic. Well, there's a lot of people on there. I had Harper Black on there. He's the way what he's gone through to get to where he is, and he's got this positive outlook on life. Yourself, I mean, you're all coming back from different angles, which is amazing. So the migration thing is huge. I mean, people don't realize how hard it is. And can you tell us a little bit about the background with regards to you pick Canada, obviously, as a more developed country, I guess. It is Nigeria. A lovely country. It's got lots of bears. I love bears, and I love Calgary, the Calgary Stampede, and everything else about the place. Didn't really want to leave it, to be perfectly honest. So I went to Calgary, Vancouver, Banff, Whistler. But why did you pick Canada? Is there a particular reason why you picked Canada, or it's funny where people migrate to? Was there a reason? Was there any reason for what you migrated there? Because it looks like you've assimilated pretty well.
Of course, there are a couple of reasons why people migrate. Personally, why I chose Canada is because when I did my research, I thought Canada had, besides the weather, I don't like the weather here. So besides the weather, Canada is a developed country for sure. And then they have a clear pathway to transitioning from being a temporary resident to becoming a permanent resident, and then ultimately.
Oh, okay, so it's like that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that was an attraction for me, and I don't regret the decision. Canada is a beautiful place. Of course, it has its own hiccups here and there.
Oh, of course, but it's like everywhere.
So far, of course, yeah. I mean, so far I'm liking it. But like I said to you, your first hit with that big blow, like where you begin to say, did I make the right choice? Was I sure about what I was doing? Because it's you're coming from a certain level of comfort, and then you're thrown into inconvenience because you're trying to build from scratch, right? So finding your footing, it's where the challenge lies. And if you're not careful, you may begin to think that because I've had a couple of failures, I couldn't really get my dream job here, then I'm no longer qualified. I'm no longer the person I am. No, that's not true. The failures that we face on a daily basis are just a reminder that life is not constant. And it's actually opportunity for us to grow. And so when I started changing my perspective around how I manage my challenges, I started becoming more successful in hitting my targets, in achieving my goals. And I really wanted to share that part of myself with the world, because I find that many people go through challenges in their workplaces, emotional challenges, even marital challenges. When immigrants move over to a new country, some of us are not able to break free from our cultural nuances, because it's what you're used to for how many years of your life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you come to a new environment, and then you're trying to, learn or unlearn what you have learned, so you could learn a new culture. So there is always that there's always that conflict. So you have to be able to strike a balance. And then for people who are dealing with marital issues, it's because some traditional cultures
how did you go with that? Like you had your culture back home and moving into this culture, and you said you had failures and stuff, but the attitude you've got is very similar to when only a year ago, when I realized when you actually turn the mirror onto yourself. And one of my heroes, Blackie Lawless from Wasp, he actually looks at the mirror in one of his songs. And I only knew that back in 92. But having the awareness of what you're doing when you turned, and you said you became more successful. Where was that happening in the process of migrating? Because as I said, this is a great interview that you've actually gone from one place to another, and the challenges that you have, are you good enough? It's these simple things that you take. I mean, we take for granted in these days, but you've made that massive step. I know a lot of friends of mine have migrated from other places to Australia, so it's a big thing. You've done a really good job,
Yeah. So okay, just to throw a little more light to what I said earlier. So my first challenge was to find a job. And I mean, you will hear people say things like, "Oh, you really cannot get a professional job because one, you're a student, and then we had only 20 hours to work within a week. And most of the jobs that were available were mostly full-time jobs for, of course, people who were done with school. And, I had to find a 20-hour job. It wasn't what I really liked to do, but I had to, I had to keep proving myself that I was actually a professional from where I'm coming from. Right. So it's all of those things.
What do you do for a living? Sorry. What do you do for a living?
Okay, so right now I'm a strategic communications specialist.
Okay.
Yes, so that's what I do right now. But back then I was a customer service specialist.
Is that
so
what you were qualified back in your home country?
No. In my home country, I was a media professional. But over here, I had to, yes. So when I came in here, I chose to study strategic marketing communications. It's been great. I love it, but to get the dream job was where I got stuck.
Okay. Well, you took a few steps back, which is, what people have to do. You found your value in something else. You had to go right with just what. And I think a lot of people these days, they want everything right, everything given to them, like everything should be perfect. But I think it comes to a challenge where, I mean, I went back to school at 35. I was doing massage and myotherapy and health and fitness and all that. And then, excuse me, I decided to go back at 35 to get a degree in applied science in phys ed. So I get where you're going. So the challenges of going backwards and taking the challenge of the unknown is huge.
And that's a profound, Jay. In fact, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Where you're saying, I will just try out this thing, right? And I did formally, I couldn't accept that failure was an option, to be very honest with you. I thought that once I failed, I mean, I thought that no one should even desire or think about failure. But now what I've learned is failure is an option, and it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes and learn from them. And it's okay to make mistakes again and learn from them. And just like when babies are born, a baby will try to learn to walk, right? The baby starts crawling and you sometimes they will have a few bruises here and there, they will hit their head, but eventually the baby starts to walk. So I realized that is maybe, nature teaching us how to grow as adults.
Okay, I'll put a question to you now. So that attitude should be what should be happening in the world, right? But we're aware of it. We're aware of it because we've gone through it. Okay. If you were counseling someone or you were mentoring someone, because you look like you're going to be a great mentor to people, especially people coming from overseas, how would you guide someone through that process? Because you pretty much nailed it when you came. You basically had that attitude. What would you say to someone?
So I would say to them, first and foremost, you came in with something, right? That you could first get an approval from the Canadian government to come over here to school, study, to work, whatever pathway you chose to be here. They saw something in you through your application, so you are not empty, right? You may not be competent in speaking the language. You may have, you may have your own unique cultural, background. But two things I'll tell them: look inwards. There is a gift inside of you that if you let yourself explore your new environment, it will bloom. The other thing I'll say to them is this: keep an open heart, because the truth is, the reason why people don't move forward is because they have a closed mindset. So they haven't left, they may have left their countries, but they still have the mentality of where they were, of where they're coming from, of what they have done, of how they have failed. No. This is a new environment. So this is a new opportunity. This is like you're building a new life. So in fact, it gives you many opportunities to start afresh.
It's fantastic. Right? That's why I grabbed you, because the messages you've got on TikTok are amazing. And that's what a lot of people, self-gratification, really quick one. We've all gone through it. I mean, I went through it. You can train the ego, understanding the process of the ego within the subconscious mind, how you programmed yourself as a child, bring it into adulthood. There's a lot of stuff there. But what you're saying is exactly where people like us are well needed, in that motivational and mentoring role that we have been through it. And as I said, that's where I think we've got to be in the next couple of years. I mean, there's a lot of people who want that. Oh, I've had that issue and I can't do what I need to do. That didn't work. It's finished, or hang on, that's happening, or it's not happening straight away for me. It's that I guess we look at masculine, feminine energy mindset. You look at the ego, and you've pretty much nailed what we should be doing. And I think what your messages are magnificent. So going back to when you got to Canada and you started to make this great life for yourself. Now you've done. It's only taken you 3 years, so well done. When did you decide to actually come out and say, look, and this is what you're going to do, a motivational mentor, or however you want to put it? When did this all start? When did it all sort of kick in for you that you've made that change? When did you find that? Was there a particular moment at all?
Okay, so I can't really pinpoint a moment, to be honest. For me, it was a gradual thing, formally when I wake up, if I don't have classes or I don't have work, I just noticed that I was really crawling into myself, right? I'm a very extroverted person. I'm a people's person, but there's that part of me. I mean, I think with every human being, we have different parts, right? There's this part of me that's so introverted, and now I begin to sulk, and I said, this is not how to. I wouldn't be any good to myself if all I do is just stay in my room, cry over the fact that I'm here alone. My family is, my family members are miles away. Yep. And I was saying to myself, I could do better with myself. And to be honest with you, at some point it was affecting my study because I wasn't coming on, enthusiastically. I wasn't coming on with a high level of enthusiasm to do my work.
So you lowered your vibration. So your vibration with your thoughts, which a lot of people do, and that the ego gets into it. As I said, been through it, know it, and understanding that your vibration was really down. But you look like you whipped your vibration up really, really quick. You did it quicker than a lot of people I've talked to. So you've done a great job. So when did that? You've had that attitude. Have you kept that attitude when you were first coming, and has it obviously got better and better?
Oh, it is. Well, I'll tell you. I'll be very honest here. Yes. I wouldn't say that. Yes, some days I still feel a little, lonesome, and I'm like, oh, I was hoping to get this. I haven't got it yet, right? And I think that that's very common, right? When we set targets and goals, and you say, you know what, I want to buy a house, for instance, and I'm not able to buy it yet because I have to fulfill some obligations, and I'm like, it's taking too long. I just want to have my own house, and I'm spending so much money paying rent where I'm currently renting, right? So there are those moments where I feel a little low, and that's why the show is actually there, because you need something. You need someone to keep reminding you. It's not just to motivate you, because with the motivations, there are those fluctuations up and down. Yep. But with inspiration, and if it's a practical thing that you're reenacting your faith, your conviction in yourself, in your ability to attract goodness. If you do that often, then what you're doing is you are building emotional resiliency, right? Such that even when you're faced with a challenge, you're no longer at the level you were prior to engaging in positive affirmation or confessions, because your mind is now awakened to a consciousness that this is who you are. It's more like feeding your soul, right?
Yep.
Feeding your soul with positive words.
Your soul and your psyche and all those things that, I mean, we've got our spiritual stuff. Yeah. I mean, but we've all got our stuff that we learn outside as people, as personal people. But I think that, as I said, we disconnect from the earth a lot. And people like you, me, and all the people that I've met are starting to connect back into the earth and getting back those basic qualities that have been flicked by, materialism, or however you want to put it, or being slowly dwindled with all the stuff that's happening in the world. And we're bringing this light back, and that's why it's so good to actually talk to you about that.
Yes, exactly. So you made it even clearer. Thank you, Jay. So that's exactly what it is. So the more you feed your soul with these positive words, you're extending its ability, its capacity to withhold and withstand challenges, such that I hear people get depressed, and I don't blame them for being depressed, but it's just that when you are situated in the right environment, you're constantly feeding yourself with positive words, and you have the right connection, right support system. To a very large extent, you have been able to master, or you have been able to build a higher level of competency as with regards to your emotional ability to withstand challenges. So it's about emotional resiliency, mental capacity. It's also about finding the strength and the vigor. Like I said, I always say on the show, it's for us to enjoy the value of each day. Every day is not the same. Every day has its own uniqueness, but you must remember that every day has its value. So whether you feel high or low on this particular day, there's a value to it. And that's what I keep reminding myself. When I feel, when I'm in those low moments, I say to myself, you know what? It doesn't mean that it's not going to be a good day regardless. I'm still going to have a great day because I set my mind to have a great day. I'm still going to wake up and I'll feel joy. I would still love to share that joy with somebody else, right? So it's me being deliberate about the principles I want to keep practicing so that I can become a better person and attract the things that I desire to my life.
Absolutely. See, the thing is, I think people get stuck. And as I said, this is coming from personal experience. Even just simply writing simple things like today, I get up to be the most beautiful, perfect person I can be, helping people learn, teach. That's what I wrote something. I write something to that degree every day. And I wrote my gratitude stuff. So I did all that work. What I want to ask you though, we're looking at boundaries, right? So my boss, who I do DDP yoga with, Dom Dallas Page, now he made a video which was very, very interesting about, I just turned 50 myself. And when he turned 50, he's 70. He doesn't look 70. I'll tell you right now, he looks about 45.
Wow.
Right? If you look him up now, he looks about 45, 50. But he made a decision of being himself and giving the people positivity, but setting boundaries. And I think a lot of people who are very positive and with which we went through earlier, I know I went through earlier, you got to be positive. But if you don't look within yourself and set boundaries of what you say, put in your mouth for food wise, and also people coming at you, because everyone's different. Some people don't want to hear it. How do you cope with that and yourself putting up boundaries and go, hang on, this guy's, this girl, nah. All right, I usually go with myself personally. I go, I don't wish them any harm, but that energy level, they've got to just say, listen, we've got to put a boundary up to protect ourselves. What do you think about that?
That is so true. And in fact, what we do with the positive affirmations actually helps us create a consciousness, right, of who you are, such that your mind is alert when you are in the wrong environment or you are meeting someone with, I don't want to say negative vibe. I hate to use the word negative, but
no, it's we'll say lower frequency. Let's put it that way.
Lower, exactly. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Vibration and frequency is huge. I mean, you have a look at what you're doing on TikTok, and the vibe that we've got here is really good. But then you get someone who's a negative Nancy, but that's the way they are. You have to accept the way they are, but then you don't have to accept that vibration in your life as well. That's where I think we become more, especially people like us have really become more stringent with regards to how we give our energy out now. Because I mean, good people get their energy sucked. Let's be honest, energy vampires.
In fact, thank you for using that word. In fact, I'll tell you a short story. It had happened to me before. So I was working remotely at that time, and over the phone, we don't get to know who's who, but we just once in a while we
just
have
say person X. It's all good.
Yeah, and then so this colleague of mine sends me a stinker, and it was from a conversation she had with my boss the previous day. I overlooked it. I felt, one of those things, right? And then the next day she comes, back to say a few other things that got me really upset. I said, okay, this is not good at all. Like she's really getting to me at this point. So what I did was to say to her, if there's anything really between you and me, I mean, I'm not aware of anything happening between both of us, but if there's anything happening to you because of me, let me know so we could talk about it. And then she went on to say, oh, no, it's not really that. So she takes her work seriously and blah, blah, blah. She said a few things that that almost got me a memo from my boss. My boss, I don't know. Let me be very clear on this. She was being racist. I mean, I'm just going to be very clear on this. She was being racist. Yeah. So she challenged how I spoke to her clients. And I had to say to her, please, I had to say to my boss, feel free to listen to my audio call with this client and tell me if I was out of line, right? And, this lady wouldn't rest on my case because it was more like there was something about me that she just couldn't take. She couldn't just, stand. And to be honest with you, I had to snub her. That's how I dealt with it. I snubbed
Yeah, well,
her.
this is the thing. This is the thing. I mean, we get. I mean, I've only just realised when you get, because we do look, we radiate at a high level, right? I call it sort of like white lighters from Charmed, right? I'll use that for just for what it is.
Yes.
But I think that people, energy vampires, with the vibration, they really truly try to suck our energy down. I mean, and if we don't put a boundary up and either step away and go, I've had enough, or put them in their place, be blunt, because I mean, Diamond Dallas Page taught me, and a few others, Dean Grazioli, and there's a few others there from the Tony Robbins side of things. You have to put your boundaries up. You don't have to be rude about it, but you've got to put your boundary up here. You've really got to protect yourself. You can still be positive. You go, and back in the day, I think, especially here, tall poppy syndrome, if you say something to someone like what you just said, but you actually make it a point, they don't like to hear it because they don't say it the way they want to say it. It's absolute garbage, it makes us think, are we being a bad person? No, we're not. We're just putting up boundaries, mate.
Yes. And in fact, the truth is it's so important to do that because there are vibrations, there are low frequencies that pull you down, and you don't want to do that. You've taken time to build yourself, and you're still building yourself. And then someone is there to destroy all that you have built or all that you're building. It's not worth it. So yes, safeguard yourself.
I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you, being what you're doing, right? Because we've got about 3 minutes to go on this first part.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the vibration level when you feel these people coming on. Have you felt that shift, and how do you block it to keep yourself up? How do you go about it? So if you feel that yourself, you're coming out of balance because someone's sucking the life out of you, or projecting that negative psyche onto you. And I'll just use the word negative. It's just the way it is. How do you go about it now? Because you said you went with one way with what happened. I'm sure you've changed your way of doing things. How do you do it now?
Yeah, so I mean, situations are different, so it depends on what the situation is. For that lady, I had to just snub her, and after a while, she had to let me go because I was not responding to her anymore, right? So yeah, I agree with you. So personally, what I do is I don't stay too long in a place where I don't feel welcome. I'm very intentional about it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I don't have to, even if it's a job, I would leave. Because as much as I love the money, what is important to me is me, my values, what I represent. And so if there's a conflicting vibe in the room, I don't have to be there for too long. It's either I'm able to change the atmosphere, which I try to do a couple of times. How do you change the atmosphere? And I like what you said. When I wake up in the morning, I have my affirmation that I say all the time. I'm a person of faith, so I pray. And if I come into the room and the atmosphere is toxic, I don't have to stay too long. I walk away. But if I can change it, I'll change it.
Well, this is the whole point, because we're used to putting up with stuff. We're going to call it there for part one. Part two will be happening very, very soon. This has been amazing because it's a different aspect. This is why I do what I do, because there's different people in the world coming from different angles. And someone who's doing what they're doing and migrating from one country to another, it's a huge step, and a lot of people are doing it. We're going to come back with part two with Mamuzo from Canada, Ontario. I'll ask you about the bears and stuff from up there as well, because I'm a bear. I'm a bit of a bear lover. I have to say that. But we'll be back.
Don't like bears.
You don't like bears? Mate, I love them. I reckon they're better sometimes than humans. Anyway, that's the way it is. We'll go. And mate, go and get yourself a drink. Go to as we call it down here, the dunny. Go do the Australian things. But we'll be back with Mamuzo very, very soon. And look forward to talking to you. If you want to jump onto her TikTok, she'll go through the interview, the link, and that's the word. See, I've got marbles in my mouth. The link will be down the bottom through the final cut of this, so you can actually jump on and see what a wonderful thing she is doing.